Hi, I'm Lisa Hayden with Community Focus on Washington County, Channel 6, Central Kentucky TV. And today our guest is Robin Cochran, the school superintendent of Washington County Schools. Welcome, Robin.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
I haven't seen you in a long time.
I know. We've been busy, haven't we?
Yeah. And I know you really are busy, and it's hard to get you on the show. And so I'm delighted you could be here today. And so, you know, there's been a lot going on, I know, in the school system, and I just wanted to get with you and see what's going on currently.
Well, it's an exciting new year. We're glad to welcome everyone back to Washington County Schools for the 17-18 school year. It's a different year for us in that the state accountability is in the process of a transition year, and it's changing. So that has impacted what we do on our day-to-day work and even the practices of what goes on in our classrooms and with our teachers. And so we have decided for this school year we didn't take on many new initiatives because we are trying to transition in. And once those new standards are approved and the new accountability is approved, it will lead our work and what we do going forward. One initiative, though, that we are doing that's a little bit different is that we are working on what's called invitational education. And that's a character ed program. Many people have heard of The Leader in Me, and it's very similar to Stephen Covey's work around the 7 habits of a highly effective people. And so the neat thing about invitational education is that it affects our entire community and our students, our parents, staff, and it's an exciting time. We're just now in the beginning phases of that. 3 of our 4 principals are headed to New Mexico next week to learn more about invitational education, and so I'm excited what that work will look like within the next coming year. And don't have a lot of details right now because we're just learning about it, but I think you'll see a shift in what students are doing and how they're treating others and the work around that, because we really wanted to focus on our culture and our climate and being the best that we can be as a person. And then we feel like that if we do all of those things, it will translate into learning and high achievement for all students.
Gosh, that sounds really interesting, Robin.
Yes.
So now, all of this is a result of what? The different requirements that the legislature passed with regard to school
Well, in terms
work?
of like the accountability changes that we're seeing, some of that is state-driven, with the Kentucky Board of Education, and the desire for our standards, with the work and changing from Common Core to being, we can still use Common Core as our foundation and our basis and so forth, but it's not required. And so with that, standards were opened, and they're in a feedback process you can go on to. If there's a parent or a community member that's interested in the standards, they can go on to the Kentucky Department of Education. It's still open for comment, and they can actually look at the standards and see what the curriculum is and what suggestions they might have, and there's a feedback process. And so their opinion does matter, and there is an opportunity to give feedback about that. And then once the Kentucky Board of Education finalizes those, then we will begin our work with doing, the teacher teams and the standard setting, and from that becomes the assessments and real in-depth curricular work, that has to happen in terms of like pacing guides, and parents will see a change with that because they may see units shift. Like, for example, they may say, well, my older child always did Native American Indians in 5th grade, and based on what the standards and how they're laid out, it may shift to 4th grade, it may shift to 6th grade. That's just an example. But they may see some changes. They may see some of the work and the types of work. It's really moving to critical thinking skills, application-based education. It's really shifting from, it's no longer just reading, writing, and arithmetic. It's also, are you able to apply what you're learning and problem solve and use those creativity skills and critical thinking skills, because that's where the jobs of the future are going. It's no longer just what you know, it's whether or not you can apply it as well. So,
Well, that sounds pretty, I mean, like that's a good thing because
so.
you think so?
I do. I think it gives students that maybe don't necessarily have high cognitive levels the opportunity also to develop those through grit. And grit is a word that a lot of people haven't heard, or they don't understand what that means in education. But I like to say to people, grit, we're seeing, and the research is saying, that grit is getting students further in life than just God-given knowledge. And what I mean by that is working hard, those soft skills, those essential skills. You'll hear legislators talk about essential skills. Those are things like knowing what to do when you're having difficulty, knowing where to find the answers, not necessarily knowing the answers, but knowing where to find it. With the way that our world is now, knowing how to find the answers is just as important as knowing the answers, because it's all right there at our fingertips. And so teaching kids those things, and teaching kids how to show up for work and how to turn things in on time, and attendance, and pushing through and persevering when they come up with a struggle, and parents giving students the opportunity to struggle. That's tough. I have 3 kids of my own, and I want to fix their problems for them, so I understand that. But we talk to parents about productive struggle, and letting kids work through that productive struggle, not to the point of anxiety and frustration and the desire to just give up, but a little bit. It's a good thing, because
we have
we're adults, we know,
and we have challenges in life.
Absolutely,
and children need to be aware, and that some of that, Robin, might have to do with, because there's been a lot of discussion. I mean, by many people about in various fields, that maybe parents have spoiled their children a little,
sure.
and we have given them the answers. We have made it easy for them because.
Absolutely.
As a parent, you want the best for your children.
Sure.
So as a result of that, maybe they haven't had the struggles and the challenges that they need, that they're going, and the skills to work through things in the future when they don't have their parent to rely on.
Absolutely.
So is that kind of the concept?
It is, and having students have the opportunity to work through issues, and talk to. We put in strategies in the classroom. Teachers are really good about saying, have you asked a friend? Have you turned to your partner and said, instead of just always thinking an adult has to lead the work. Student voice is a big focus for us in our district, and teacher voices as well. But trying to say, okay, if you're not happy with what's going on, or you're not understanding with what's going on, not just saying that, but also coming up with, what are some possible solutions? What could make it better? What could happen, or what is a different way of doing it? Because we all know that most problems do have answers or do have solutions, but we can't rely on one person to be the keeper of all of that. And so when the state started doing student voice surveys for children, we started listening more to what teachers were saying also, as a way for district administration to possibly change practices and make the learning environment better, but also make the working conditions better, the classroom conditions better. And so we listen a great deal, and sometimes we can change things and sometimes we can't. Sometimes there are non-negotiables that the state or the federal government put in place that we just have to do it that way. But if there are things that we can do to make things better, we listen and we try to do those. And so an example of that would be the Commander Day work that we have done in the past. And a Commander Day, if there's someone listening that doesn't have children or don't understand this, they're called non-traditional instructional days. And so if the weather is inclement, or if we had a water main break, or we had maybe electricity not being for 1 or 2 buildings, I can call what's called a Commander Day, and I would notify the parents, and that means that the students stay home that day. The students have packets of work that they do, and they know that Commander Day 1, they know they go and they do these assignments, or Commander Day 2, it's specified to them. If they have difficulty or trouble, they can call the school. They have teachers' email addresses. And one of the changes that we implemented last year from Teacher Voice was, if the weather's inclement, we would prefer to work from home. Is there a way to do that? Can we log on with the way technology is? And now that we have these options within our classrooms, Google Classrooms, and opportunity for Skype sessions and students to communicate with their teachers and so forth, we tried that, and it went really well.
Did it?
We also
I
have
wondered,
a backup, though. I mean, that someone's at school there to help. If they can't reach someone at home, someone's at school, and they're able to help.
Now, do you find, Robin, that, of course, internet is still a problem in our county.
It is.
And so do you find that children who live out in areas that may not have access to that, or may not have access to a computer?
Sure.
How does that work?
Well, and that's the beauty of it, is that we do send those packets. So in the packets, they have the option of doing something paper pencil, or they have the option of doing something through technology. And so we don't discriminate. If there's someone that doesn't have the means to, or device, or like you said, internet, or sometimes people will say, well, everyone has a phone just about, and everyone's able to access technology or social media or platforms through their phone. But also, it's difficult sometimes to read from a phone. We know that. And so the other thing is, paper pencil is not a lost art for some. I'm a very visual person, and if you give me an assignment, I will still choose to pick up the book over reading it online. Everyone is different, and their learning style is different, and so we talk a great deal with staff about that, and ensuring that they have access to both types of learning platforms for their students. Same topics, same curriculum, same content, but we allow student choice. Students can either choose to do it paper pencil, or they can choose to do it electronically. And the other thing is, if we give 2 days, upon returning, to get the assignments turned in.
So if you don't get it finished at home because, well, can you actually make a phone call to the school?
You can.
Okay.
Someone is always
okay.
at
You
the
said
school,
okay.
And someone is always at central office, and we give them those numbers.
Okay.
It's also really funny because many of the kids know me and those things. I'll get Facebook messages, or I'll get text messages, or I'll get things of, Ms. Cochran, can you help me with this, or can you help me with that? And I've made home visits before during those days. Or I've said, I don't know how to do it either. Let me call your teacher. And so I'll call the teacher, and it's okay. It's okay for me to say I don't know how to do it. The teacher's going to have to help you with it. And so we put the safety net. That's something else we learned after the first time or two doing it, is that giving the students an opportunity to get help once they come back to school if they don't understand something. They all have the option of either meeting with their teacher after school, before school, their planning times, and the teachers are really good about saying, is there anyone that had any questions about their Commander Day packet 1, whether it was online or whether it was paper pencil, and if so, come see me in 10 minutes when we have independent time, because I'll help you through whatever it was. And so sometimes it's just directions that need to be explained. Sometimes it's, I didn't have this resource. For example, we learned with math, if one of the activities required it wouldn't be as simple as a ruler, because most have rulers at home, but say that was something. Then they made sure that that student had that, whatever they needed.
That device that they needed.
Yeah. And so it's worked really well, but
those
what that allows us
compass
to do.
things, do they still use those?
They do. And
oh,
so
good.
that enables us not to have 10 makeup days that go into June, when we all know that learning after the state accountability testing occurs in May, going 3 weeks beyond that into June, it gets tough.
Yeah.
And so those Commander Days allow for us to end pretty much on time. And parents' feedback has been great, because if they've planned vacations, they don't have to worry about moving their vacation days because of snow days, or you remember as a parent.
Oh my goodness, that was a big issue.
Sure. And kids get tired when it becomes June and warm outside. They want to be home.
Yeah.
And so this has helped with that, and with graduation dates for families that are traveling and trying to get tickets to come in. It's a more consistent set date that they can plan on.
Yeah.
And so that has gone that's gone really well.
Yeah. So now, Robin, there's not going to be like this core testing anymore. So that we had before, and there was always that criticism that everybody just worked to get that testing. So it'll be a little different now.
It will be a little bit different. We're still, like I said, we're still in the design phases of finishing it up. The only thing personally that I'm disappointed about is that we were told that it would be more understandable for the community, and that we would be able to explain it better to our constituents, and even the weighting of the test and what types of things that are tested. I don't know that they've achieved that goal. It's still pretty complicated and pretty difficult to understand. With what's been proposed. Again, it's not been finalized, but what I'm seeing proposed, it's still not the goal. I sit on the Superintendent Advisory Committee for the state. There are 14 superintendents that do that, and so we meet monthly with the commissioner and go over what we're seeing and our concerns, and also our praises and those types of things. One of our goals was to get it to a 30-second elevator speech that we could talk about what was going on and what was going to be in a grocery line with our parents and kind of explain things. And I don't think we're there yet, you know, and I know that's not necessarily any one person's fault, but I don't think it's ever best to let one test score define the success of a child.
Right.
And I think you should have multiple measures that look at the achievement of a child and what a child is able to do and not able to do. And so some of the components of the new testing system, I think, will do that, because it does measure growth against yourself.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, because I want to know how I'm growing against myself more so than I want to know how I'm growing against everyone else. Because my starting point may have been lower, or my starting point may have been higher. So instead of, you remember the old CTBS, the bell curve?
Right.
And the goal was to get above 50, because
Right.
that meant you were better than half of the people.
Right.
Well, really what we want is if you're already above that curve, we don't want you saying, I just still want to stay above the curve. If you're at a 60 or a 70, we want to see growth for
Right.
you, and vice versa. If you're lower than the curve and you gain 10 points, even though you're still below the curve, look at what you did, during that school year, and look what you were able to achieve, and what's the plan to get you above that curve for next year. So those are some components that I think it will help, but it's still pretty difficult to
So a
understand.
school might be judged not just on those standard scores, but on the improvement that each individual child has made. As a whole, they would be able to monitor that or
Yes.
evaluate that.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is correct. And then they're also looking at attendance, and they've never done that before. So I'm excited about that, because I do think that there is an apathy at times where parents think, well, it's okay to just miss school. It's not a big deal. It doesn't really count. School district's just worried about it because money. They get money for when my child comes. That's not necessarily true. What we want for it to be understood is that you're developing lifelong habits of a commitment of, if you say you're going to, the old saying, get up and show up every day, whether you feel like it or not.
Right.
That's what we want to teach our kids. And so it starts in school. Get up and show up. And you may be having a bad day, and let us help you through that bad day, but get up and show up.
Yeah.
And, when we talk to local businesses and industries, they talk a lot to us about, we work so hard on becoming a work-ready community. You know that. And
Right.
we were able to achieve that, and no one thought little old Washington County would be able to achieve work-ready status because of the internet and some of the other barriers that really were beyond our control. Look what we did. We were able to do that.
Congratulations on that, by the way. You and Daniel with economic
He's my
development.
partner.
Yeah.
I tell you, he does
You all
a great
partnered
job.
Yeah.
We couldn't do what we do without Sweeta. And Daniel is our right arm, and he's right there with us. There's never a time that we come to him and say, this is a dream, and this is what we're thinking. How can we make this happen? He's right there with us. But we were able to do that in a
And
portion
for
of that.
those that don't understand what the work-ready community is, it's a lot with regard to the soft skills, showing up, being accountable, being responsible,
being drug-free.
being drug-free.
You know,
that's an issue.
It is an issue, and it's something that, you know, some people may say, well, that's not your business. But it is our business, because these are our kids, and these are our future leaders, and these are our community members. You know, and so in instilling those skills as they grow up and develop, it's so important. And that's why I say a sole number about your cognitive ability is not what defines you as an individual. You know that. I mean, and now that I'm an adult, I really look back on that and think, glad somebody didn't hold me to just a cognitive number, you know, because so much of our success in life is about grit, and it is about perseverance.
Determination.
And how hard are you willing to work, and are you willing to get up and show up and do those things that nobody else wants to do, and those types of things. But also, to piggyback on the Work-Ready grant, the Work-Ready community, there was a Work-Ready Skills Initiative that the governor announced last year. Many people are aware of that because he put over $100 million into this grant. We applied, and again, no one thought Little Washington County would be able to do this because it took a great deal of partnerships, and we had to talk about how we were going to grow what was already here. Well, our only partner locally with pathways with our industries is the Marion County Area Technology Center, and there were areas that weren't meeting our students' needs that we wanted to grow beyond that. And so SWETA partnered with us, local industries partnered with us, and we submitted an application. We weren't selected for the first round, but we were invited. You had to be invited to apply for the second round. We did that and went to Frankfurt. We had to defend with Mr. Heiner, and we had to sit around a table similar to this and talk about our proposal, and from that we were awarded almost $800,000.
That's fabulous.
And again, that partnership would not have been available without SWETA. So that work will begin in January.
Now that's where you're going to put some classrooms in the vocational technical classrooms in the elementary school.
In the old Washington County Elementary School that currently has Commander Academy, that's our alternative school, is in the basement area. And in the top area, we are going to renovate it. That's what that grant is for. And it will become the TEL Center. And that's TEL. It's Travel, Engineering, and Logistics Center. And so we're going to move our aviation program because we're one of the only schools around that has an aviation program. Many people don't understand that the airplane industry and those things, it's our biggest economic development in Kentucky.
I tell that to people, they're astounded when you tell people that, you know, we've got a big airplane industry with, you know, making parts and things of that nature. So
I said travel, I meant transportation. But the transportation industry with the aviation is huge. And so we believe that if we can grow that program, we usually have about 30 students that begins a cohort each year. We have all that right now currently at Washington County High School, but we've outgrown it. You know, we've received grants for a wind tunnel and a simulator, and the and the airport board has worked with us to. We have a student that has her pilot's license as a result of this program, and so she's planning to be a woman pilot, and she has been accepted into the 90s, and the 90s is a all women's aviation club, and she has flown solo and done all those things, and she's a junior at Washington County High School, and so that is so exciting to have that desire, but then to be a woman and to want to do those things. We're excited. So that program will be there. We're also partnering with ECTC to do welding, and that was pretty neat in that ECTC has been a great partnership with us. When they built ECTC, the Springfield campus, they put in bays for welding, but they never had the funding to complete those bays. You know, to have like the materials and the equipment and run the gas lines and all those things. This grant will do that for ECTC. So not
Will
only
that be at ECTC and in partnership with
us.
you all?
Yes, and so
That's
that grant
great.
affects not only Washington County Schools, but
Uh-huh.
it affected our community partnerships, and then obviously it affects SWETA because Daniel had talked about the need for welders and where we were getting our workforce and how we were getting our workforce, and that we were going outside of Washington County because we didn't have anyone trained. And so my hope is that local individuals will be able to get their welding certification and then work in our factories here in Washington County, whether it be our students, whether it be our students' families, whether it be our students' relatives, or just friends. I hope that there's a lasting impact on Washington County as a result of this grant and the vision that we had to do this work.
So not only high school students can participate in that program, other adults in the community who want to go to ECTC and as a college or as a vocational school college student can do that.
That's correct.
In addition.
And that's what's so exciting about this, is that our TEL Center is not going to be open just 8 to 3. We will have it open in the evenings for adults in the community that want to come and get those services and those skills there at that facility. In addition to welding, we're hoping to bring CDL. We talked to our local transportation. If you've noticed, you see all these signs that say drivers need it, drivers need it. And so
bus drivers too.
Bus drivers, and that's a CDL. It's a different one, but
right.
It starts that program.
Yeah.
And so we said, how can we meet our community needs and our student desires and even adult areas? And so what we did was we talked to ECTC again, and with this grant, we're going to offer the beginning courses of diesel mechanic, because if you think about it, one of the discussions with Secretary Heiner was we're sending, or people think that the only place to get your diesel mechanic, where do you hear? Nashville. I'm going to go to Nashville. Well, I don't want anyone to go to Nashville. Not that there's anything wrong with Tennessee. Bernard Smalley would be happy that I say that right now. But I want people to stay in Kentucky, and I want our kids to stay in Kentucky. So when we talked to ECTC, they said, we have a diesel mechanic program. We have one, right here in Elizabethtown, and no one knows about it. So we talked about, well, how can we marry those two programs, meet our community needs, but then also help ECTC. And so while we can't offer the actual hands-on courses because of the equipment and those types of things, we can offer the beginning courses of diesel mechanic, and then the CDL beginning courses and so forth, and then they can go to Elizabethtown to get their hands-on work. And E-Town is 45
E-Town's
minutes,
close. Oh,
and
my
it's a
goodness.
good drive, and
Yeah.
so we can do it. We've
Yeah.
even said that if we have students that want to do that and will partner with us, we're going to make it to where we will run a bus to E-Town. And it will be that we take them, we drop them first thing in the morning, we pick them up at the end of the day, and we bring them back. They would have their courses all day there. We're really trying to think out of the box for the high school student that has a career choice, that wants to do this pathway. And we're really excited about that.
And certainly we need those careers.
Yes.
I mean, we have a shortage, so that's
Those are
very
technical
important.
careers.
Technical
And-
careers that we need.
And it doesn't require the 4-year college degree that some people think you have to have now to be successful. That's not true. These are 2-year programs. Sometimes it's just a certification program, and it's hours. It's the number of hours you have to have. We're hoping that if all of that takes off and we get into that building and things get going well, that we're able to offer construction management and project management. Those are 2 areas that we get a request for, and we haven't been able to meet those students' needs. We want to grow an LPN program in that building and partner with Marion County ATC to do that. Right now, the ATC offers a CNA program and an M&A program, but there is no LPN program locally around. Springfield campus, ECTC.
Danville, I guess, still has theirs.
Yes. Springfield campus, ECTC does not have the LPN.
Of course, we did have St. Catherine offering on our RN, but
Well,
anyway.
and we had begun
LPN.
conversations with them about an LPN program, thought that that's the direction we were going, and then unfortunately It didn't
with the
happen,
classroom.
which I understand, but we didn't give up. I don't want,
Right.
you know, we've told our students we're not going to give up, and if that's a dream that you have, we're going to try to figure out how to help you achieve that dream. And so that's some of the work that we've been doing, and computer science. You know, that's the coding and the medical coding and medical technology. That's been a request from Springview Hospital, and so we're hoping, because the facilities at the old elementary building, we think we will have room for that, maybe growing that program and a feeder program where they can be directly hired once they complete our program, which that's our biggest desire, is that we have pathways that lead to direct employment, and students aren't completing pathways and then looking for a job. We want them to be employed.
Great.
So that's really,
This is exciting, Robin.
work.
Yes.
And I think that it answers the community's need for, you know, when we talked about the nickel tax and some of those things, and I understand it didn't pass and people didn't want to do it right then. We are trying to retrofit our buildings. You know, we've built, this is my 9th year superintendent, and we've built an entirely new high school. We've taken the old high school that wasn't able to be retrofitted in terms of classroom size and space, technology needs, science labs, and those things, but it's perfect for our elementary students. And we took the need for classroom doors and school safety. You know how the old elementary didn't have any of those
Right,
needs.
right.
And now they all have classroom doors. We've just finished a $2.3 million renovation of Washington County, the new Washington County High School, elementary school. We call it Washington County Elementary on the Hill. And
good idea.
It's
Yeah.
caught on. The kids call
Yeah.
it that too now. And so they now have clean, new, refurbished classrooms with the technology that they need, the space that they need, classroom doors that are conducive to learning. The safety factor is there now. And we've taken a building, the old Washington County Elementary School, that didn't have walls, doors, those things, and opened those classrooms for project-based learning labs for pathways that our high school students have said that they needed. And so I'm really excited about the construction.
And Commander Academy, I'm glad they've got
they have a home.
home.
They do, because, you know, I
Yeah.
have worried for a couple of years now. You know, they were at the board in the
Right.
basement, and that wasn't conducive to learning. You know, it wasn't, it was 2 classrooms, and it was small, and they were on top of each other, and the technology wasn't great, and those things. And then we had them at the old high school for a year while we were beginning the renovation, and that wasn't good because it was too big of a space and you weren't able to contain, and, you know, the safety and those things. So we changed that, and so now they have their own home. And what has been great with that program is we are now placing students on work release, and the businesses and industries are using our students to teach them life skills and training, and many of them, upon graduating, have received full-time jobs, and they've been very successful as a result of the full-time jobs.
Oh,
So-
that's great.
So it's
Well,
exciting.
Robin, it really is exciting, and there's so many. See, and we've gone way past our time, I know, but I just want, this is really an exciting time, and I'm
is.
just so glad to hear about all these programs, because I think it's going to be very beneficial to our students, our community, and hopefully, and to our industry, and then these kids will be able to be employed and also stay in our community, I
That's
hope.
right,
So
yeah.
there you go.
So-
It's a win-win for everybody.
It's a win-win. It's an exciting time, and
Yeah.
we still have lots of work to do, but we're excited about the work that's going on.
Yeah. Well, you're going to have to come back more often now, Robin, because we've got lots of things to catch up on.
Okay.
So I just want to thank you very much for being here today and
Well,
taking
thank
time
you
out
for
of your
having
busy
us.
schedule. I can see now why it's been so hard to get you on here. There's so many things going on. So
Well, we appreciate the partnerships that we have with,
Yeah.
with the community members of Washington County, and Marion and Nelson and those things as well. So
yeah.
thank you.
Thanks, Robin,
Thank
for being
you.
here.